This is a visual of the bread that I will be showing you how I make today. And the important thing here is I wanted to expose everything you have been told about healthy bread that is potentially backwards. And if you happen to get migraines, store-bought bread might actually be what's quietly wrecking you. Most gluten-free bread is just processed starch with zero nutrients. So I started making my own, and the ingredients matter much more than people realize. Ground chia seeds first. Whole chia seeds actually pass through the body undigested, but ground up, they release omega-3s, fiber, and help stabilize blood sugar, which is huge for migraine prevention. Milk thistle, it supports liver detox, and the liver processes hormones and toxins that trigger migraines in a lot of people. Psyllium husk adds soluble fiber that keeps digestion smooth without spiking insulin, whereas almond flour brings healthy fats and magnesium, which is one of the most studied migraine-preventing minerals out there. Arrowroot flour replaces processed starches with something the body actually recognizes. And quality salt, it matters too, because real salt with trace minerals instead of stripped table salt helps with hydration and electrolyte balance, something that migraineurs are almost always deficient in. And organic instant yeast instead of lab-made commercial versions avoids unnecessary additives that can be triggers for sensitive people. And pure maple syrup with filtered water ties it all together with natural sugars and no chemical residue messing with the gut. Angela Stanton, a PhD who studies migraines, explains in her book that migraines are often caused by dehydration and electrolyte imbalance, not just food triggers. This bread checks almost every box that she talks about: stable blood sugar, real hydration support, magnesium, and zero processed junk. So the real message here is simple. Migraines aren't random. Half the time, they're the body screaming for minerals the food isn't giving you. So let's make this bread together and change lives. We're going to begin with 2.5 cups of warm filtered water, ideally at 105 Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. And then to that, we're going to add 4 teaspoons of 100% pure organic maple syrup. Combine those well to create maple syrup water. To that, we're then going to add 1 package of organic instant yeast. I prefer the Red Star brand based on my research, but be cognizant there are some out there that are actually lab made. So be careful in regards to the instant organic yeast that you choose for this step. Once you've added it to your initial liquid base here, we're going to whisk this well, let it sit, and go to next steps. Next, into a bowl, we are going to sift 2 teaspoons peak Himalayan salt, a Celtic sea salt or quality salt, with 3 cups of organic almond flour and 3 cups of organic arrowroot flour. You can see here I'm not using a traditional sifter, and that is because my personal preference, I found it's a lot quicker using that particular tool than it is using the standard sifter. Then, once we have all those agreements in our large bowl, we are going to whisk everything together to make sure everything is thoroughly combined for next steps. While we are combining our dry ingredients, the yeast portion has been waking up, as you can see here. To a small food processor or a herb or coffee grinder, add 2 tablespoons organic Psyllium husk powder, 3 tablespoons organic milk thistle, and 3 tablespoons of organic chia seeds. Process that all together until thoroughly smooth and into a powder-like consistency. Feel free to sift the resulting ingredients to make sure they're extra smooth. Once it has been created, add the dry ingredients we just created to our yeast water. As you can see me doing here, we are then going to let it sit for 10 minutes and come back. After 10 minutes, you can see that the contents have successfully successfully increased. And once that's occurred, we want to make a hole in the middle of our dry ingredients and add our liquid base that we've created, and then manually combine all of the ingredients by hand by basically going down into the dry ingredients and bringing it up into the gel that we have made. Once that has all been thoroughly combined, we will then go to next steps, which means we need to get out a proofing basket that will match the same size and shape as the brand pen we are going to be using. Lightly dust the proofing basket with additional arrowroot flour. This is to prevent the dough we have created from sticking. And then we're going to take the dough that we just finished combining, put it onto a flat surface, and we are going to roll it to form the exact size and shape of our proofing basket, so that as the bread rises in our proofing basket, it will already be in the needed shape and size of our bread pan. We will need to take also some cheesecloth, dip it into some filtered water, and I like to put it into my measuring 4-cup container and really squeeze out any air bubbles that are present from the cloth still being dry, so that by the time I have finished my squeezing process in the water, it is fully saturated for use during the proofing process. Once it has become fully saturated, just squeeze out the little bit of excess, and then I drape it over my bread to then rise for an hour. Please note this is a hemmed double-sided cheesecloth that I have folded over, so technically it's 4 layers of moisture for the proofing. I'm putting the bread to proof here near the vents, so the heat that comes out, it will help the bread to rise, but also because I've kept and I have put this moist cheesecloth on top of it that is hemmed, it'll help the bread stay moist while it's proofing. And then what I'll do is halfway through the 1 hour proofing time, I'll come in, I'll rotate it, and also make sure that the cloth is still moist so that we can do next steps. While the bread is proofing, we want to preheat our oven to 425 Fahrenheit or 218 Celsius with the bread pan in the oven. An hour later, our proofing is done, and you can see how well our bread has risen. And once we have that, we are going to take our bread pan that has already been preheated in the oven out. And then we're going to coat our cooking surface of the bread pan with organic, raw, cold-pressed coconut oil. And you'll want to use a kitchen brush to safely apply this to ensure that the heat is maintained on the bread pan. I know there will be a little bit of heat loss, but it shouldn't be substantial enough to make any difference to the ultimate product and what we're doing. One thing I do want to point out, that when using a kitchen brush for doing this step, if you are kosher, you will want to find ones that are actually without boar bristles, as most of them are made with boar hairs. Once it's thoroughly coated, we will now flip our bread that we have proofed into the pan. You can see there is a slight deflating. That's just from the pressure of the gravity of the weight of the bread. And then we're going to place it into the oven, and then we're going to do next steps, which is setting a timer. We need to set a timer for 45 minutes in our 425 Fahrenheit or 218 Celsius oven. And then once that time has completed, we will do next steps. 45 minutes later, I turned off the oven and placed it on top of the stove so that I could do next steps. Then I got out a cooling rack and flipped the bread out onto it, and then right-sided it up so that it could cool down completely. Until this bread has completely cooled down, you will need to leave it alone. That means avoid cutting at all costs. While the bread is cooling, I wanted to show you what the ultimate shape and size has turned out to be and how beautiful it is. Now, if you wanted to, you could do serration on the top, but I found that didn't work as well for me, so I tend to avoid that. Now, once the bread has been completely cooled, then we want to address cutting the bread. Now, the big critical thing here is to avoid cutting it again until it's completely cooled. But once it's completely cooled, you can pretty much cut this bread into any size that you would like. I have even cut these quite paper thin, as I show at one point here, and it's still good. I did have one point where I cut the top perfectly thin and the bottom is too thin, so I had to technically eat it. And I enjoyed eating it. This was delicious bread, by the way. That's another thing. I found it very pleasurable just to eat the piece of bread because it's also very protein rich and full of vitamins and fiber for the body. You can see there how thin I was able to get that one piece, and it does great. Now, one caveat I do want to add before I let this continue on and showing you how easily this slices and the final result of how the slices look is the only thing I would say that differentiates this from standard sourdough bread, and there I ate the piece, is it does require a refrigeration when it's not being used. So I do put it in special containers that are biluvelli in order to remove excess air. Now, one thing I do want to point out, if you would like to get back into a standard feel, texture, etc. of a standard bread that's very commercial like, then you need to take it out of the fridge and put it in a toaster for a few minutes, and it becomes completely pliable and usable like it's a regular piece of bread, which I love. Otherwise, when you're pulling it out of the fridge, I will point out that it is a bit tough or stiff because the cold has really caused the fats in it to harden just a little bit. So you will want to bring it out, put it in the toaster, or just heat it up just a few minutes, and you'll be good to go for using this like a standard bread, and it is absolutely delicious. We love to know where you're watching from, so let us know in the comments. And remember, subscribe, like, and share, and put on that notification for more videos.